This is Michael Popok, and by the looks of things, it's Legal AF After Dark. The appellate court in New York, for some inexplicable reason we'll try to explain, reduced the amount of bond that Donald Trump had to put up from $465 million down 62% to just $175 million. Why did they do that? Did they do it to help Donald Trump? Was it a Donald Trump bailout? Did they do it for some other reason? Does it have to do with the underlying merits of the appeal? Or did they do it because, well, let's just say Donald Trump has very visible assets with his name on it, and they're not worried about the collection efforts by the Attorney General on behalf of the people of the state of New York? We'll debate it one place where, get to it, Legal AF. It's on the MeidasTouch network. Here's a clip.
The bond, the appellate division ruling on Monday that the bond would be reduced from $464 million to $175 million. I think I want to address some comments that I saw where people were like, Ben and or Popok, like, why aren't you expressing so much rage in the outcome of that? And why aren't you showing how angry and corrupt? Like, why aren't you criticizing the appellate division? Look, I think we were both very critical of the appellate division for doing that. There wasn't like a special hearing that took place on Monday that we could tell you, oh, there was going to be a hearing on Monday. But this is not the Yell show. Like, this is the show where we provide you the data. We can try to explain to you why we think the appellate division did or did not do. We can say we disagree with what the appellate division did, but I think there's a difference between the appellate division in a business-oriented New York kind of court system that's known to kind of have a pro-business bent that makes a bad ruling versus MAGA stuff in trying to overthrow free and fair elections and take down our democracy and shred apart our Constitution. So I give different nuance in the analysis to both. What I think happened with the bond is, whether this was, I think this is what was implied in the order. And again, I disagree with it. I think you had, by the way, the makeup of that appellate panel also was a fairly diverse panel that ultimately made that made the ruling. And I think it was more the pro-business bent of New York, and that the appellate division did not want to see something in New York where you would quite literally have an attorney general seizing assets in the state, and what that can mean for kind of the business community, not in this specific case, but in other cases where there's businesses in New York and the body of law that's been developed the same way if you were to go to, say, Delaware, where there is a body of case law that has certain precedent about business. And again, this is where Donald Trump can kind of manipulate that system. I think the appellate division was trying to protect a business-friendly environment, but also creating a corpus of funds that if Donald Trump could not pay the 175, which was reduced to, you put him on the spot to have to do that. That's still not an insignificant amount of money. The appellate division comes off in their own mind, looking fair, which again, I disagree with. And then, it puts a large amount of money in an account so that when New York Attorney General Letitia James prevails, you can very easily get that first 175. Popok, you've gone through the creditors' rights issues. Mm-hmm. Even the seizure takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be like on Monday, this property's mine or that property's mine, and you sell it. There's a whole process, especially with large assets, that would take time. Now it would be as simple as if Trump were to put the money in the account, taking the money from the account where the money's just in. So it would be super easy. That's what I think the appellate division was doing. Do I agree with their decision? No. Why help this guy out? He didn't put any evidence. In fact, in my view, things got worse for Donald Trump in this, not my view, I think in everybody's view. I mean, the key witness for him pled guilty to felony perjury in the case. So, like, why give any advantage? I totally disagree with what the appellate division was doing. But in this show, too, I try to give you the data points to explain why the rulings happen that way. So that's that. And then Popok, touch on that. And then you can also
Yeah.
touch briefly on Donald Trump filing this appeal after Judge Scott McAfee's ruling in
Yeah.
Georgia. Take those two if you can.
Yeah, the first one I agree with you. It's slightly different angle, though. I think it's one of two things for the appellate division, first department, run by presiding Judge Renwick. I think it is the pro-business court. I practice there regularly. I think they, because of the uniqueness of this defendant having so many visible real estate assets that are subject to a monitorship that they did not disturb, that with a former federal judge who's babysitting all of his assets, who also has new robust superpowers over his assets and money transfers. I think the uniqueness of that gave the appellate court more confidence that they needed to take in less money as a bond to secure the people's judgment. That's what this is, the people's judgment of the state of New York. That's where the money goes. It goes back to the people of the state of New York and the Treasury, the General Treasury of New York State, for ill-gotten gains that were obtained by Donald Trump and everybody around him and all of his companies in their business operations to which he was not entitled. That's what the judgment is all about. I think if this was a different defendant that didn't have so many visible assets with his name on it, that didn't have a monitorship already over him, which of course the appellate division knows well all about it because they're the bosses for Judge Engoron and they've been monitoring him and his decision making, and they kept the monitorship undisturbed. They kept the appointment of the monitor, the monitors, at least the original powers, the superpowers that just came out 2 weeks ago have not been tested through appeal yet, but you kind of see where they're going. They disturbed a couple of aspects of the judgment related to Donald Trump's ability to stay running the business in the meantime, along with his children. They're going to allow that for now. They're going to allow them to go out and get bank loans and transact business in New York for now. But under the guise, look, they know everything. So they know in this way, the appellate court is omniscient, right? They know there's a monitorship. Having said that, that's one theory. The other theory is they took a look at some of the earlier decision making, think that Judge Engoron made some fundamental math errors in how he calculated the disgorgement amounts around a certain of the transactions, whether it be Mar-a-Lago, what he attributed to Mar-a-Lago in terms of value, or the old post office, or the Seven Bridges property, whatever. And because Donald Trump has alleged that Engoron's off by $258 million, which is almost the amount of money that they have lowered the bond amount to. So either it is a signal that that at the end of the day, they're probably going to be on the $175 million end of the field, the playing field for affirming the judgment and verdict by Judge Engoron, or it's what you and I just said, which is this is enough of cash given the other real estate and the monitorship that's involved, and then and the fact that recognition, as Karen Friedman Agnifilo said, and I agreed with it on our midweek edition, recognition that the judgment creditor, I say it's the people of New York, but it's the Attorney General of New York with all of her limitless powers, her unlimited budget, effectively. She could throw thousands of people at this. It's not your typical creditor that's got to go like, well, I wonder how I'm going to get this money. It's so difficult. Think of all the money I'm going to have to spend. Yes, it's more taxpayer dollars, but it's a leviathan in the form of the Attorney General as the creditor against Donald Trump. And I think all of those things went into the mix. The only question is whether it indicates that they think there was error made and they've lowered the number down to the end of the spectrum where they think they're going to ultimately affirm. I'm not sure it got that complicated in their analysis, but it is a theory that I have posited on one of the hot takes. Well, do you like lawyers talking about things they know what they're talking about at the intersection of law and politics? Then you've come to the right place on the dial. Don't change the channel. This is the YouTube station, channel, platform for MeidasTouch. You're already here. Help them get to 3 million free subscribers. And we do a show called Legal AF there. The title means just what you think. Yep. It's at the intersection of law and politics. It's twice a week. Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here and then on audio podcast platforms, wherever you get your audio podcast platforms from. If you know all about Legal AF, you didn't catch the last episode, there's a segment of it to catch you up. Or take that clip and help be our marketing team. Send that off to friends and family and say, you know that show I like, Legal AF, here's an example of it, and maybe they'll join our audience as a result. If you have no idea what I'm talking about or who I am, I'm Michael Popok. That was Legal AF, and we invite you to join us on our podcast, which we do again Wednesdays, Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube and on audio podcast platforms. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Meidas Mighty. Let's use our power well.